bro.
Let's go.
This has been a while.
Long time coming, man.
Yeah, 100%. We've reunited here in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
You've gone on a few trips. I've gone on a few trips. Gotten to see each other and kind of like in between those. I think it's been, though, a couple months since we've actually gotten a proper sit down.
100%.
Right, and chop shit up.
100%.
Right, yeah.
I'm excited for it, man.
100%. So, we went on a crazy journey last year in 2023. It was Q3 going into Q4, and we spent a good length of time together. Then we came back to Toronto, and since with the holidays and the New Year, and then I went to Thailand and New York, and then came back, injured 2 weeks, then went to Saudi, Dubai. I didn't really get to talk to you about how it was been since we went on that trip, and then that journey up until now, which has been like 6-7 months. So what's that been like, man?
Dude, first of all, I want to say that trip was life-changing. Spending that amount of time with you was an experience. It was incredible because we're so similar in so many ways, albeit different in other ways, and in ways that we can both learn from each other. So I'm not typically a person to give a direct, concise answer. I might jump from place to place, and if at a certain time you want me to get back on something, you let me know. But yeah, I mean, it was amazing. You know, we experienced different parts of Europe together. You bring me to your home in Egypt, which was eye-opening to say the least. One of my favorite countries to date. Honestly, I did not expect that to happen. We spent some time in Italy together. We went through Monaco, south of France, and you know, I'm still reflecting on those times. So that's a whole podcast right there, reflecting on those experiences, and we can go into those experiences as well. But since coming back, it doesn't feel like it's been that long. I think it's because in your mind you try to process things that has happened to you in the past, and you're still in the moment, but there's like that disparity between the difference of the two. It's been great. I've been spending more time with my family. I've been getting more and more clear as to where I want to spend the majority of my time, because it's the most finite resource we have is time. And you know, people talk about money a lot, but it doesn't get more valuable than time and the attention that you spend during that time. So I've been becoming more strict with how I go about giving my time away and using it, and becoming more self-responsible and not making excuses. Not that I ever did, but I'm trying to become as diligent as I possibly can with every minute that I have awake. So that's a funny answer to your question.
Nah, it's cool. It's so interesting because time, we all understand that it's so important, yet we all take it for granted. We all take it for granted, including myself. But that's where the gratitude, protecting your energy, and really just getting more and more serious as we grow, right? Like through life. But for the people that don't know you, right, and people that don't know me, right, well, I want us to kind of introduce ourselves, right? Give them a quick elevator pitch on who you are, what's up, what you do, what are your passions, and like what do you stand for, like values and morals and stuff.
Beautiful. That sounds like a heavy question, and
yeah. And you got a time clock, 2 minutes.
I love it. My name is Aaron. I love long walks on the beach.
Sick.
I actually do, to be honest.
That's on your Bumble profile or something?
Yeah, it used to be for sure. No, I'm passionate about health and fitness, about getting better myself, becoming the most optimal version of myself, and trying to get there so I can help people that are, say, on their own journey to maybe find some inspiration, and if I can leave this world with a value surplus, like that's my ultimate goal. Just to leave a little bit more than I came in with, ultimately.
That's fire. That's fire.
And yourself, my brother?
Yeah, so my Arabic name is Abdurrahman. My English name is Ace, right? And personally, I'm all about self development, growth. I was raised by a single mother that was raised by a single mother, came to this country when I was 1 years old. Didn't really know about a lot of the opportunities, right, that were given to me until I had went back home, gotten to see where I came from, those conditions, and really coming back and being able to see the contrast of, all right, yeah, like my mom came here and sacrificed for us so that we can actually live a better life and whatnot. And with that, I've had like an up and down journey, a whole roller coaster, right? Like throughout the years, which led me here to this point. I've gone through every single avenue, career-wise, right? I've been employed, self-employed, started businesses, joined businesses, failed, succeeded. Have a plethora of experience in that field. Passion has always been like health, fitness, wellness, development as a whole, and figuring right the best way to maximize life. Yeah, and aside from that, I'm very passionate about my family. Got a couple younger siblings. I'm the eldest, and with that, just navigate life with all the responsibilities, all the ambitions and goals, right, and pacing myself with the progress to get to where I want to be while I take care of my people along the way.
Absolutely, and that's one thing that we have in common is we are both the eldest sibling, and so although I have just the one sibling, you have a couple more than me. I do have a lot of younger cousins, so I've felt that role and responsibility throughout my life, and I'm learning how to navigate that, because I think the easier way is to tell somebody something, right? And I spent a lot of my years telling my little brother what to do, telling my little cousins what I think they should do. Although the whole time I was figuring out how to do it myself. And I think the more I've learned through experiences, through other people, through watching the great leaders, is you have to lead through example. And this is something that I've really just recently started to understand on a different level. Like, if I'm going around trying to help people become the best versions of themselves, which is my goal for myself and for yourself as well. We're both heavily invested into self-development. It's what we do every single day. It started off as a passion, almost like a need, but now it's like it's akin to breathing. We can't help it. If we feel like we're not growing, we're regressing, because that's not a good feeling, right? So for me, I find that now the best way that I can go about giving others that value is just doing as much as I can myself. And that doesn't mean killing myself, pushing myself. It doesn't mean forcing ourselves to do these strict, crazy diets, which we both have done, or doing crazy physical feats, which again we both have done, and I want to get into some of yours as well. But by doing things that you're a little bit afraid to do, and then telling people about it and showing people it's completely possible. And once you do it, you feel a little bit better about yourself. And I think that's what self-confidence is. I think that's what growth is doing something that you're a little bit afraid of, a little bit past your comfort zone, but then your level of comfort, it almost grows like that. That's, the inner circle. I think Stephen Covey talks about it in Habits of Highly Effective People. It's just you have the inner circle of influence, and then there's the outer that you cannot influence. And the Stoics also believe in the inner circle. So when you push that boundary of growth and uncomfortability, that boundary just gets bigger and bigger. And so, yeah, how do you find being the oldest sibling? How do you feel about that responsibility, and what are you learning in that process?
Well, I wasn't always good at it, right? And I learn every single day, right? Something new, or I try to, at least. Growing up, from the conditions that I came from, I was an angry teen, just like a lot of people. So with that, you kind of push your family away, and you're looking for love in a lot of different places, in the wrong places, really. And you get caught up in certain lifestyles and ideals, and a chase, which isn't really conducive because, you know, your home needs you, but you're too young to even do anything about it, to even know or have the wisdom of being responsible, right? Being a man, right? When you grow up and you're the eldest, and then you're put in a situation where there is really no man of the household, or that man is lacking, isn't really fulfilling his duties, those responsibilities instantly drop on you, or those expectations are, but you're not up to the task a lot of times because you're still young, trying to navigate life, these emotions, and you're kind of immature in the way that you even think or see it. So in, you know, my teenage years personally, right, you start alienating, right, it's not just you growing up too, but it's your siblings growing up. Everyone's like, you know, coming into their own as a person with their personalities. Mom's always working, right, trying to keep us proper and afloat and never wanting and all of that. But in that, there are a lot of layers of pain, right? And and there is no age where you're going to kind of figure this thing out, you know. It's one of those things where life will force you into it, or you're wise enough to, you know, kind of really understand your role and your duty, right? Because there are a lot of people into their 30s, 40s, and 50s, and they're still childish, even if they're the head of the household, even if they're the man, the eldest, the father, whatever the case may be. So, yeah, like, honestly, it's been beautiful because I have an amazing relationship with my family right now. I'm well respected. My word means something. And they rely on me, you know, for the protection and provision of the household. And heavy is the head that wears the crown. So with the responsibility, with all of the benefits that come with that, and the pride and joy from being able to really sustain, right, your household with, you know, not just finances, but with love and joy, right? Because that's the difference between like a house and a home, right? And so it's been a roller coaster of a journey, but I believe once you figure it out, you really realize that it really comes down to, you know, accountability, responsibility, communication. Like, those are the keystones for all the relationships, but especially if you have a leadership role, like in your house. So it's not always easy, right? But if you get to a place where you can work with your family together, you can really build something beautiful, because even though it is your responsibility, right, to lead and take care and provide, everyone's got to, you know, kind of do their part, even with as just simple as sharing the love, right? So I've found that there are a lot of things like that the eldest kind of goes through just like a parent, right? But instead of a parent, you know, kind of going through it, having their multiple child, you're growing up, like, literally, as you're trying to figure this thing out. And I know you've had your own lessons and your own story and adventure and journey with being an elder brother, the man of your house, the man of your overall extended family. And so you get it. And I'm sure a lot of people get it, even if they're not the eldest. There are a lot of people that are the middle child or the youngest, and they're the ones that are responsible. So I don't think it's kind of like a placement. Yes, it is when you look at it like, you know, from a real biological standpoint, you know, what everyone's supposed to do, but it doesn't always play out like that. I want to ask you, though, because you have ventured seriously into the coaching space. And it's very beautiful because since we've linked up last year, which in a couple days is going to be the anniversary of the networking event, right? So a lot's happened since then. You've really changed a lot of people's lives from last year till now, and I know just recently you've dove deep into, right, being an optimal coach. So I want to ask you, for the people that are out there that want to get started on being the most optimal version of themselves, what that really means, and then what kind of steps they can take, right, just to get started, and what your approach would be with them.
Wow. So, first of all, I want to say great answer. You've opened up a couple of things with me in terms of your past and how you've grown in being there for your family, and I really respect that part of you, and I've learned a lot about how to be a leader, a responsible man in the household, how to be an older brother, a son, and all of that. I've learned a lot of those things through you, so thank you for that.
Appreciate that.
And of course, and I just wanted to touch on that. So in terms of the coaching, yeah, man, I felt like I was a coach long before I even knew what that was, for people that I love and people around me, and I know you were the same. It has an interesting connotation, coach, you know. I almost don't really like that word so much either, but it's kind of like the word that fits a lot of the times, right?
Do you have a word that you kind of prefer over that?
I kind of like the word consultant.
Mm.
Consultant sounds cool. It sounds like somebody that can come and give a couple of little tidbits of advice if asked for, or a perspective, you know. But anyways, I digress. So for me, what optimal means is just being the best version of yourself. And it's interesting you ask, what does that mean? Generally, I can't explain what that means to you. I can't explain what that means for somebody else. I'm actually doing like a social experiment at the moment where I'm asking a bunch of people what that means, and then eventually I'll compile it into a video, and we'll watch that, and it'll be interesting. But what I like to do with my clients is, first of all, let's just see if we connect, because that's extremely important when you want to work with somebody, is if you have a connection with them. If you don't have a connection with them, if you don't feel like you can trust them, you like them, or you would listen to what they say, obviously don't work with them, because you're going to be spending money, you're going to be spending time and attention, which is the more valuable asset. But once you have a connection with them, you ask them, okay, what's the goal here? Like, who are you trying to be? Like, what's the best version of you look like? And it's interesting, for guys like me and you, we've thought about this question a lot, and I'm sure we still think about this every day. And I do at least think about this every day. What does the best version of myself look like? Because the goal is to take yourself from where you are now to that person. And there's a lot of roadblocks and challenges and opportunities along the way. So we figure out, okay, who is the perfect version of you, the ideal, the dream version of you? And I like to always write this stuff down, because memory is fallible, right? You write down, okay, who's a perfect version of you? And then we try to figure out, okay, what would that take? Like, obviously you're not there right now. What would it take for you to become that version? So now there's a bridge, right? And if we make it as simple as possible, let's say the ideal version of you is at point B, you are at point A. What is the bridge that's going to take us there? A lot of the times, it's not a process of addition like you've spoken about. It's the process of removal. What are we removing? Well, superficially, we're removing bullshit. A lot of the time, it's excess. It could be excess fat. It could be excess ideas. It could be excess people in your life that need to go. And I will never tell anybody, stop hanging out with this person, but I will tell them after they've pretty much told me, this person is not beneficial for you. And even if it's a family member, even if it's someone that you thought you could never live without, if it's a partner you've been with for 7 years and you know it's toxic and you're telling me it's toxic, which I've had clients tell me in the past, you'd be surprised when somebody trusts you how much they tell you. If you're telling me this person is toxic for you and you know that your life would be better without them, what do you think you should do? And then usually the answer is quite clear. And so my job a lot of the times is asking questions. And I would implore anybody that's interested in becoming better is ask yourself better and better questions every day. Don't give yourself those answers.
So I have a question on that. I think that most people know who is beneficial for them in their life and not, who are the ones that are toxic or not. The thing that holds them back from that, though, is how do they go about it, right? More times. Is it better to just cut people off completely, right? Maybe in some cases that's the case, but what would you say? Because I feel like that's probably the number one thing that's holding people back from removing certain people from their life and then adding certain people into their life as well. Is that how can I overcome kind of like that barrier, right?
This is a great question, and you've spoken about this in the past too, is having tough conversations is so important, man. People avoid tough conversations like the plague, but I have almost learned to love them, and I think you too, because when you have those tough conversations, for example, let's pretend me and you were not good for each other, okay? If I just came out and I emotionally just vomited everything, it wouldn't come across as good. Usually it doesn't, unless you're extremely articulate, which a lot of the people that are trying to improve aren't quite yet. So emotional intelligence is huge. So if we've established, okay, somebody is not good for me, what I always recommend, one simple exercise that I recommend, is take a journal or take a notebook. Take a journal or take your phone. If you rather speak, take your phone. If you rather write, take a journal. I always liked writing. From the moment I started, I fell in love with the process. And I want to talk about writing as well. But you take a journal and you write a letter to that person. You write everything that comes to your mind. Let's imagine it's your parent. You have let's say your dad, okay? You have a poor relationship with your dad. You haven't spoken to him for a while, and you take a journal out and you write down everything that's on your mind as if your dad was right there. Every single thing that ever bothered you and this and that, you write it down. It could be 1 page, it could be 100 pages. It doesn't matter.
Are you trying to deliver that letter in kind of like the best way they would receive it, or this is where you're just expressing yourself?
Get it out.
Okay.
Just get it all out. Don't limit yourself. And nobody's watching. Because the whole point of this exercise is to see what would come out. A lot of people will initiate a conversation without even thinking about it for a second, because they're afraid to even live it once before they actually live it. But everything happens twice. Everything happens in the mind, and then it happens in reality. And if you don't plan it out, it's not going to go as well as you thought. If you're trying to lose body fat, you don't plan it out, you probably won't lose it, at least not as efficiently as you could. So I recommend do that, or take your phone out, and I've done this in the past. I remember one specific time, I was in a really tough point in my life, and I felt pretty much at rock bottom. I was in a gas station. I couldn't even afford to pay for my own gas. That was a small part of the problem. I took out my phone, and literally for 10 minutes, I just said everything that was on my mind. I started that self-conversation in like the worst state. My vibrations were low. By the end of it, I was like almost laughing. Because you get everything out, you put it all out there, and now it's no longer in your head, and you're no longer ruminating, which is a side effect of depression. It's just rumination of one thought just going back and forth. Get it out. Once it's out, it's not in there anymore. So that would be the first step. The second step is, if you feel like you don't even know how to do it, well, now we got to work on the emotional intelligence and communication. And again, a lot of these are just skills, right? Mm-hmm. We need to work on these skills.
Okay, so you write this letter, you express everything that you've been thinking and feeling, and then what?
Then, because I have some experience in the acting world, I've done certain exercises that have taught me some important lessons. For example, this one exercise, right? Now you have this letter, and now what I want you to do, this is going to sound kind of weird, okay? But I've done this and it works. And I'm just giving exercises. You don't got to do these, but if you find that you're in a position where you need to have a conversation, you haven't been able to do it, try this out, and it really is going to do wonders for you. You sit down, let's say I'm in the chair right now, right? You imagine, in this example, let's say it's your dad. I imagine my dad sitting right there. I have my notebook right here. Notebook's down. And now I want you to imagine that your dad's sitting here, and now you're going to start a conversation. And you're going to start speaking. And it sounds so stupid. I understand. I completely get it. But speak. You start speaking. You will find out very quickly that emotions start to pop up. Because I don't even know how to explain it. It just, once you get it out there, you will see where you're at. And I could open up a conversation with, say, my dad, and start speaking to him as like practically like, why weren't you there when I was younger? Why did you do this? I'm not happy about how you acted. Everything that you wrote, you could just read it off the paper. And then you're going to see if you're ready to have that conversation. Because if you can't even formulate your words and you feel awkward and uncomfortable, it might mean that you're not ready yet. And it might take some time and it might take some practice, and that's fine. Because this is clarity. At the end of the day, it's clarity. In worst case, if you don't end up doing this exercise, you don't end up having that conversation, worst case, it's on paper, you can shred the paper, nobody will know about it.
Solid advice. So you said you wanted to speak about writing, right? And I feel like this portion of the conversation is really cool because we're talking about optimization. We're talking about, bettering yourself and what that looks like on a practical level for the majority of people. So let's speak a bit about writing, right? Then you can transition into reading. And then I want to get your take on some other optimization hacks that you might have up your sleeve.
Well, writing is like, if you pour me a glass of water, thinking is like if you just pour it in my hands.
Say that one more time.
Okay, so you have a jug of water, okay? And you come up and the analogy is like, if I'm thinking about something, and imagine the thoughts are the water. You come and you start pouring this water into my hand, what happens? What?
Yeah.
Water starts leaking out, right?
Yeah.
But writing is, I have a glass here, and you start pouring the water, the thoughts, into my glass. That, for me, is what writing is. Good writing. You formulate your thoughts, which can take hours, years, decades for good writers to get to. But you formulate it to a point where you can write it concisely and somebody else can then understand what you're trying to say.